Good afternoon, everybody. This is Harold Pyun. I am an administrator of several centers, as well as a consultant, and some of you watching this may already be one of my clients. Well, first of all, thanks for stopping by, and I appreciate the fact you've taken time to watch this video, but I believe that you'll be able to get some value and insight from watching this video. Also, and more importantly, I do hope that you, your families, your loved ones, your staff, your participants are safe and healthy. I know that many of you out there are really trying to do your best to provide ongoing services to your participants. But more importantly, I'm sure many of you are striving out there to provide services that are compliant and really keeping the best interests of the clients in mind. So today's video is about the recent ACL that came out on March 27th, yesterday. So this video is being recorded on Saturday the 28th. So I will be referring to the letter itself, and then I will also be making some comments and observations. And of course, those will be based on my opinion and professional, assessment or evaluation. In addition to ADHC and being a social worker, I had an opportunity. I actually had a company that built a pilot program for Anthem Blue Cross from 2011 to 2014, pre-Obamacare years. And it was a community-based case management program designed to serve its highest risk members I started in Fullerton, and by the end of the 2013, ended up having 27 case managers and 5 staff with networks building from San Diego up to San Francisco. So that opportunity, the opportunity to really build from scratch that case management program, really allowed me and is allowing me to inform the process when I am developing plans, forms, protocols, and policies for the centers that I work with. So I believe and I do hope that you will find some value in this. Of course, as you know, the state is doing its diligence to provide regular updates. So we are getting a lot of these ACLs. And this is a fluid situation. So this letter, I'm very happy to see this letter because of the fact it does provide more guidance, more details than any other letter that has come out. But it's things that I was expecting to see in the letter. I'm sure the guidance will still provide more guidance, and this will be more informative and helpful for each of you as you develop your plans and forms and protocols for these quote-unquote alternative services that will be temporarily authorized to be provided by Cbas centers. So again, just a disclaimer, the commentary, other than what's in the written text, is based on my opinion and professional evaluation. So first and foremost, I really appreciate the fact that the state is working with us to partner with providers, our Cbas centers, to redesign services and delivery for those that are at greatest risk. So something to keep in mind, these services may not be relevant nor needed or even wanted by all your participants. So just a little thing to keep in mind as I've implemented kind of a preliminary version of our plan and strategies. This is one thing that I've learned. Okay, but most importantly, it is great to know that the state, Cbas, CDPH is working with CMS to work with you, Cbas centers, to continue to provide ongoing services. And this provides hope not only for the participants, but for you as staff, for the owners, the ability to ride through the storm so that once things pan over, and I'm sure things will pan over, it's just a matter of when, we will be able to continue to provide ongoing Cbas services as originally designed. So a couple things here. These should look relatively familiar, but basically, whether it's telephonically or in home or live virtual video, you're going to be able to provide nursing services, social services, speech therapy, therapeutic activities. And these are all things that are listed in the regs, in the IPCs, in addition to the PT and OT. Now, it's interesting to note that we can provide these services, PT, OT services, in the home. So, to be honest, I'm not sure how many of you will be doing this, but anything that is called, I break down case management into two categories. There's telephonic and there's face-to-face. Okay. Telephonic, obviously there's no risk of, disease spreading through the phone. But when you're engaged in face-to-face services, whether it's delivering meals, whether it's providing in-home PT, OT services, be sure to practice prevention and protective measures. Really, really important. So for now, just know that you're going to be providing the standard menu of services that were given in the traditional model, in this alternative model. However, obviously, participants are at home. So keeping in mind and keeping in compliance with any regulations, safety precautions, and guidance that is given, I also believe there is some room for creativity. There's something that I was telling my staff as I was training them. Our goal is to try to replicate the environment that we had at the center, that we were providing to our participants remotely while the participants are at home. Now, this is to be honest, it's a far stretch. It is a challenge. However, I do believe that one of the biggest struggles here is a psychological battle that our participants will face. Imagine how difficult it is for you to just be at home with your families. Now, imagine that for our participants who have many chronic existing conditions, who may be isolated, who may have diagnosis of depression, whatever it may be, or limited physical capacity to ambulate or transfer even from their bed to the restroom, whatever it may be. Remember, they're in a more of a challenge state than we are. So, first and foremost, it's about trying to create a psychological buffer or psychological supports, psychological encouragement for our participants. Okay, so that's something I thought I'd share. Now, these are activities related to to these services that were listed above. So care coordination, communication, so the liaison, medication monitoring. This is relatively unique, of course, assessing and monitoring COVID-19 symptoms. However, any health assessment should be observing for any symptoms, right? So the assessments that I've made, the forms I made, don't specifically ask for that, but obviously they're on heightened alert. But it does ask for the presence of any active symptoms that might be present while completing the assessment. Family training, verbal cueing, so on and so forth. Now, keep in mind, if you haven't had case management experience, these may seem all fine and dandy. However, it is really important that whatever services that you are designing for these alternative services, it is important to integrate principles and techniques that are unique to case management, care management. Okay, so it's not just calling the participant saying, hey, how are you doing? I believe that it starts from creating a new mindset, a new paradigm for your staff, because it is a different model. And to assume that simply, oh, let's just make a phone call, it's not that simple. And if you think that way, in fact, I think you could possibly be providing services that are not what it should be. So keep in mind, whatever it is that you're doing, integrate appropriate, relevant, tested care management, case management principles and techniques into the service that you may be providing during this COVID-19 transition / alternative services time. Now, one thing I know is that participants aren't going to be necessarily tech savvy. I don't want you to make that assumption that they won't know how to use a computer, that they won't know how to use Zoom. But at least for the population that we're serving, older adults, immigrant, Korean speaking and Spanish speaking, to be honest, some may not even know how to access YouTube. So as I mentioned, I did create a YouTube channel, and one strategy I wanted to use was to post exercise videos for older adults in the relevant languages so that they can go to the YouTube channel as a central access point, at least a virtual point of congregation where they can go and watch a video and know that other participants from their centers are watching the same video at the same time. Okay, so involvement of families, realize this. Their living situation that was prior to the COVID-19 situation and center closure may not be the same. Maybe their adult children are asking them to move in, right? And generally speaking, if they're moving in with their adult children or family, yeah, we can assume that there may be more family or social support. But the important thing is to not assume that. We cannot assume that just because they may have been living alone, now they're living with family, that all will be fine and dandy. It is therefore important to be sure that you are conducting an active assessment of their current situation. Yes, you can use historical assessments and data to inform current practice and future practice and current situation. However, the biggest error that you could probably make is to assume that things will be the same, or they will be okay, or they will want to participate, or they won't participate. Either way, making an assumption is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can do at this time. Now, keep in mind, any services that your center may provide in this alternative model should be guided by the IPC. Makes sense, right? Whether it's your interventions or the participant goals and wishes, these are all things that I've integrated into the training of my staff, in the forms and policies and protocols that I've developed, ensuring that whatever we're doing is still informed and guided by the IPC. So, sounds simple, but I'll tell you, maybe some of you might not remember that, right? You might think of this as a separate program. But remember, this is being provided under the shell of your Cbas program, which, as I always call during trainings and to my staff, the IPC is your prescription. Just like a doctor might give you a prescription for medication, the IPC, in my perspective, is the prescription for Cbas services. And this is important, reimbursement. So obviously, if we're going to provide alternative services, we should get reimbursed. This will help fund paying for staff salaries, paying for rent, and keeping the business alive. And it does seem like, based on my interpretation of this, that it will continue to be bundled reimbursement. So just one daily rate, perhaps the same rate they were given. I'm not sure. This is what I'm not sure about, and this is what I'm trying to speculate on. But the fact that they mention further guidance will be forthcoming regarding minimum service standards required for reimbursement. So perhaps they might continue to give the daily rate, but they're going to have to identify what the minimum services are. So as you saw earlier, there's a whole list of services. Now, will we be able to provide all of those to each participant every day? To be honest, I don't think so. So the state has to come up with some minimum standard of what will be required for a center to bill for those days. And of course, that's going to require proper documentation. Okay, proper documentation of all the services that are being given. And there's going to be some different unique, strategies, unique things, actions that should be taken by the center to document the alternative services that are given. So keep that in mind. This is not going to be the same. It will be largely the same, but there should be additional things implemented and integrated by the center to ensure that services are being given properly and services are also being documented sufficiently as well. So, yeah, this last letter by Department of Aging, I really like this letter. This was kind of a beacon of hope. As you know, the government, Congress, and Trump has passed that new the legislation for COVID-19, crisis financial support. So that's a good thing. So Friday was a good day for all of us, and at least it provides more hope. So for now, I'll call it a day. I hope that you have found this video to be helpful, if anything, informative, or provide you some additional insight that could help you and your center develop any alternative services that you're going to give. I also do have my consulting website. You could simply Google Harold Jun Pyun Consulting and you should be able to find the website there as well. So with that, we'll call it a day. I hope you have a blessed and safe and healthy weekend. And let's keep on pushing. Let's keep on fighting. Let's keep on doing our best for the participants and for each other. Thank you so much. Take care and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.